Yeah. Good morning, everyone. Welcome back. I'm really glad to be with you this morning. Last night was the first night that I slept without any interruption from any kittens, either 1-year-old or 12-week-old kittens. Nobody was bouncing on the heads on the bed. So it was an interesting experience of sleeping solidly through. I'm so glad my body remembers how to do it after 12 weeks of interrupted sleep. She's currently sitting on the white carpet, so you can't see her. She's just slightly off screen, but she's blending in with the carpet. The others are in the room across the hall doing cat things, cat things. They're chasing dust bunnies and wrestling with each other. You wanted to come for meditation? Somebody knocked something over in the other room just there. Okay. Oh, I know what they knocked over. It'll be fine. Did you get scared? Yeah, of course. All right, so let's begin. This week, I want to work with you on Metta and Maitri from a slightly different angle. So I've been talking with you, and I did mention this briefly a few weeks ago or 2 weeks back. I've been talking with us about how Metta and Maitri, the same practice, two different words. One is coming from the language of the Buddha, Metta, and the other is coming from the language of yoga, Maitri. They both mean loving kindness meditation. And I was mentioning in our first week of this particular part of the Brahma Viharas, for you to imagine that somebody somewhere is practicing Metta or Maitri towards you right now. Now, of course, that means that you have to imagine that at some point in your life, maybe you've caused suffering to someone. Because the practice is for us to practice towards someone who has caused us harm or who is causing harm to another person. And then to practice this prayer that these people, this person would be experiencing less pain and suffering, and therefore more ease and harmony. And of course, we do hope that it makes them a less, a person who's in less pain, less likely to cause pain. So we can feel this in our hearts, like the heart is growing, right? To have this sense of expansion, like, may they be free from unnecessary pain. May they be free from unnecessary suffering. May they have ease and harmony. And of course, we have this like subtext, may they not cause harm anymore. May they not harm us or others. But that's not actually a part of the meditation. So if we reverse it and we say, people are practicing this towards you, that somewhere, somebody in your life might be practicing this prayer towards you, it means that they're hoping that you're going to be in less pain, experience less suffering, and have greater harmony and greater ease. And they're looking to free their heart from something that you might have done that caused them pain. Now, this is not a traditional way of using Metta or Maitri, but I'd like you to consider it for our practice time this week. What if others right now are hoping that you're in less pain? And maybe they're only hoping it because another part of Maitri or Metta practice is that you've been a benevolent person for them, you've been a kind person, you've been a benefactor, a teacher of sorts, not just that you're in the category of the person who's caused harm. But of course, it's easier for us to say, oh yes, I've been a benefactor, or I've been benevolent or kind, and therefore they're offering this prayer to me. And maybe that's very true, but I'm asking you to challenge yourself to think of maybe someone that you've actually harmed would be somewhere updating their own heart about this harm that you have done or that I have done. And just see what that feels like to imagine that you're on the receiving end of their transformation in relationship to some pain that you have caused. And if you think that you haven't caused pain, then we should meet up. We should discuss that. It's all too easy to even cause imagined pain to others because each of us is coming with a complex history in our brains and bodies. Okay, shall we begin? You ready? No one's caused harm to you, right? No, all your needs are getting met. Sometimes you get scared. patio yesterday, and she was up on the high shelf for a long time looking out at the world, and then didn't know how to get down. I very safely climbed up on a step ladder, and I played fireman, you know, to help her get down from that high spot. The other kitties weren't so brave as to go up there. There you go. You're all ready? Okay, so let's rest our hands in the lap. You can do palms up, palms down, one hand in the lap, the other, one hand on the heart, one on the belly. And please close your eyes. Of course, you're welcome to keep your gaze open and slightly down. And come into your body and your heart. Our week is beginning together. And please raise your hands to your heart. And we'll chant the Gayatri mantra this morning. Om Bharat Tatsavitar Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Bhargavasuvah Tatsavitar Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Tatsavitar Varenyam Bhargo Devasya Dhimahi Dhiyo Yona Prachodayata. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om. Shri Guru Pyo Namaha. Hari Om. With your exhale, you may bow your head to your heart and then release your hands to your lap. Yesterday in our 10 a.m. class, we had an extended period of pranayama, and I'd like to repeat those practices and prepare us for some of the work we've been doing, including you'll want a chair for class today. We're going to be using a variation of shoulder stand at the end of class. So my aim is to help you have the flexibility of the upper thoracic spine and the elasticity of the side ribs and the heart for this inhale suspension, for the power of the exhale suspension, and then for things like bridge pose and fish pose and shoulder stand. These are poses that we bring into the upper chakras, 4th, 5th, and 6th chakras. So we're going to begin with Bhastrika. You can gaze somewhere on the floor in front of you, maybe like an equilateral triangle from the knees, and keep your eyes steady, your body steady as the Bhastrika has a steady pace. Exhale. Inhale up to suspension with all of the bandhas. Exhale smoothly, releasing the bandhas before you exhale. When you feel that there's a homeostasis that's kind of returned to your body, you're not breathless, then a second round of Bhastrika a little bit more rapid. Exhale completely. Inhale through the nose, up to suspension. Exhale in your own timing. When you feel like you're back to homeostasis, then Kapalabhati. Exhale completely. Inhale up to suspension with the bandhas. Exhale again in your own timing. And this time, Kapalabhati, we'll finish with 3 suspensions using Nadi Shodhana. And the Kapalabhati can be a little bit quicker pace so long as it's not unsettling for your nervous system. Now completely. Inhale to suspend. Closing the right nostril, exhale left side only. Inhale left up to suspension. Closing the left, exhale right side. Inhale right side. Closing the right, exhale left. Let's sit very still. I'm going to transition to Vajrasana. So come to kneeling. Those are inhale suspensions. And now we're going to practice the beginning of exhale, pause, becoming exhale, suction. And I was describing this yesterday, that what we're doing is having extend the pause without any inhaling. We're going to relax the exhale muscles, and there'll be this internal suction that happens. And we're going to be bending forward to support this process. So I would recommend that based on your own knowledge of yourself, you place something on the floor in front of you where your head's going to come down. And since we're going to be folding forward, don't put your kitten on your lap. Okay, we'll see what happens. Take your fist and place them in the lower belly. Whoops. Okay, there you go. So the inhale happens while we're upright, and the exhale is a forward bend like this. And then we have that suction, and then we'll be inhaling to come back up. And I will describe the process when we're going down. I'll do the first one with you. Okay, so breathing in, and let the breath come all the way up to the heart, raise the collarbones. And then exhale, the fists are in the lower belly, squeeze over the top of your thighs. As you complete the exhale and your head is totally supported, then without inhaling, radically relax the belly muscles and allow for the internal suction or vacuum that happens. Then tone the lower belly before you inhale to rise back up to sitting. And then either go continuously for about 4 breath cycles like this, or take a pause between the breaths. And when you feel recalibrated, then repeat. Do one more. Up from the last one, then rest your palms face down in your lap and let your mind remain quiet. Back and interlace your fingers at the small of your back. Roll the shoulders back. And as you inhale, come into a little kneeling back bend. Raise the chest and heart up. Place your knuckles on something behind you. And then exhale. And as you bow forward again, come to the place where your head is supported and raise your arms up behind you. You do not need to hold the breath out. You can continuously breathe here. Use your dedication to raise the arms up, squeeze the shoulders back away from your collarbones. Make sure your head feels really supported. And then exhale, tone the lower belly and raise up to kneeling. Come back up. And shift into Uttanasana. You can set your blankets aside. And now in Uttanasana, as you inhale, glide your heart forward and open the front chest. And exhale, deeply bow towards your legs, releasing the breath as completely as you're able to. Shift your hands to your hips. Inhale, rise up to standing. And here, let's come into horse stance. So your feet are going to be just about the width of a yoga mat. Place your hands on your knees. Gaze a little bit forward. Press firmly down against your knees so that the arms are straight and the torso is relaxed from your shoulders down towards your hips. And as we inhale now, we are preparing for Urinabanda, which we were doing yesterday. So there was a full instruction given there, and I'll give the basics of the instruction here again. So we inhale completely, we exhale and squeeze the lower belly, all the air that we're able to, we expel. And then a momentary complete relaxation of the exhale muscles, and then whisking in this pretend inhalation. And that's a very quick transition that we do there. And that pretend inhale is going to cause a vacuuming effect from the pelvic floor up to the diaphragm, up to the throat. And that is called Urinabanda. All three bandhas will be there. Okay, let's begin. Follow your complete exhale. Release the bandhas before you inhale so that you're not gasping. And please try it about 3 times altogether. So 3 times, maybe not consecutively. You might need a breath cycle or 2 in between. With any bandha practice, with any suspension, don't make yourself breathless. It won't be worth the return on feeling breathless. When you're complete, go ahead, excuse me, and rise up to standing. When you rise up, make your feet parallel. Sweep the arms up, breathing in. Hook your thumbs like an arrow, raise the arms up overhead. And come forward to a little bit of a wider Uttanasana. Let's raise up to standing. Please come to mountain pose, heel toe, mountain pose. And as you find yourself in mountain pose, picture then that internal practice of Metta or Maitri that you would gladly extend to others because it's in your nature. But let's picture that it's being extended towards you. And notice how you receive that. The quality of receiving. So if we are inclined to sense that someone is offering this to us, that we have this beautiful opportunity perhaps we can also take that into our sun salutation right now. And just imagine that you're practicing it maybe with appreciation, that you came to mind for someone and they are working on transforming their heart in relationship to some pain that you might have caused them. And they're wishing you the alleviation of unnecessary pain and suffering right now. So I'm stacking these two blankets so we can use them for the sun salutation this morning. I'd like us to work a bit in the psoas. In the middle of your mat, horizontally. So when you're stepping backwards, you can check that you'll have this support. When you step backwards, you're going to have your blankets right there for your knee. And that means your knee is going to be a little bit elevated, not directly on the floor, in other words. So please rise up to standing. And join your hands together at your heart. Okay, with the Ujjayi breath, sweep the hands down, turn your palms forward, rise up. Let's hook the thumbs like an arrow and do a little standing back bend so your hips can come forward in line with your toes. Raise. And then exhale, hands to the heart and come forward and down slowly to Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward. Open the sides of the upper chest and the front of your heart. Exhale, take the left toes straight back and left knee down. You can bring the right knee over your right toe. So you're in anjaneyasana as a base. Inhale, raise up. Let's keep the right heel firm and the right hamstring and outer hip toned. So you're not hanging into your right hip. Raise up like an arrow and keep the breath really smooth. And then exhale, arms wide. Touch the two blocks lightly. Inhale, press into your right heel. And then exhale, take the arms out like you're holding a giant beach ball. It's huge. And then inhale, rise up into your crescent. Hook your thumbs, reach up. And exhale, hold that giant beach ball again as you come over. Expand the back of your waist, touch the two blocks, and inhale, step into plank pose, stepping over your blanket hurdle. Exhale, downward facing dog pose. Breathe in. Exhale, left foot forward, right knee down. The left knee can come in line with the toes. Inhale, rise up. Flexors, you might even feel the psoas on the inside. Exhale, take a wide circle of the arms, touch the blocks. Inhale, straighten your right leg, press into your left heel. And then exhale, float your arms out to the side like you're holding a giant beach ball. And inhale, rise up. Hook the thumbs, but use the opposite thumb on the back side this time. Might feel kind of strange. Like if you have a familiar way of doing it, choose the other one. And then exhale, big beach ball, sweep the arms wide, broaden the back of your waist. And as you touch the two blocks, step over to go to plank pose. Exhale, downward facing dog. Now inhale to plank pose. Exhale, touch your knees down really lightly on the two blankets. Point your toes, glide your heart through, and come to a supported seal pose. Now raise up through the heart, set your shoulders back, and lift your chin to stretch your throat. And then exhale, roll up, plank pose. Inhale, downward facing dog. Exhale, over your blanket hurdle. Uttanasana. And then inhale, rise up, take the hands forward like an arrow and come into your standing back bend. And then return your hands to your heart. We're going to add a twist, and we're going to add a bit of a pose called Humble Warrior. Okay. So inhale, arrow pose. Breathe into a standing back bend. So the heels do stay grounded, root your tailbone, raise up through your heart, and then exhale, hands to the heart, Uttanasana. Inhale, glide forward. Okay, left toes back and left knee down to the blanket. Inhale, rising up. Enjoy this arc. It's like a crescent. From the back knee up through your left thigh, hip flexor, psoas, up to the heart, and then to your fingers. And then exhale and bring your arrow down to the outside of your right knee. And then inhale, raise your right arm. And follow your exhale to touch down. Now make the right outer hip firm, outer heel steady, and rise back up to anjaneyasana. And then exhale, hands to the two blocks. Now bring the torso forward and check that your left knee feels completely supported as you pick up your left heel, tone your left hamstring and left butt muscle. We're practicing this maybe a week or so ago, or 2 weeks back also. And point the toes up, reach your right hand back, and hold the top of your left foot with your right hand. And do your best to keep your hips still facing forward so you haven't twisted the pelvis. You're not distorting the pelvis or the sacrum. And then roll your right shoulder back and twist your heart to the right. Let's exhale, release, and step backwards over your blanket hurdle. Exhale, downward facing dog. Enjoy your inhalation. Forward over the blanket hurdle. Touch your right knee down. Rise up, anjaneyasana. Now see what changes for you in practicing the pose if you remember, in imagination anyhow, that someone somewhere, or maybe several someones, are making a Metta or Maitri practice towards you. And then exhale, twist. So bring your arrow down to the outside of your left knee. Inhale, raise your left arm. And exhale, return your left hand, tone your left outer hip and hamstring. Rise up, anjaneyasana. And exhale, hands to the blocks. Now let the torso come a little bit forward. So you're going to bow over your left leg. Start bending your right heel up towards the ceiling. Use your right hamstring and butt muscles. Point the toes up, reach back with your left hand, and you take the top of your right foot. And then add a twist of your upper back and your left shoulder. And then exhale, lower your right toes down. Backwards over your blanket hurdle, plank pose, downward facing dog pose. Inhale to plank and exhale to seal pose. Point the toes, support your knees, make the arms steady, shoulders back. And then lift your chin. And now exhale, table pose. And take the hips back to the heels. It's going to be child's pose with the knees elevated on your blankets. That means that your child's pose has the chance to stretch the myofascial region of your lower back a little bit more, but also your hips dropping down, the knees are up hard. So a little deeper massage of the inner belly. Okay, let's inhale, roll forward to cat pose, and then curl your toes under, plank pose. Downward facing dog pose. And as you next exhale, step your right foot forward over your blanket hurdles. This time, pivot your left heel to the floor so that the back heel is down. Let's face the torso towards your right foot, please. Use this as the base of your Vajrasana 1. Reach back with your hands to clasp. Roll the shoulders away from the collarbones, your arms up towards the ceiling. Relax the weight of your head. Sometimes we call this humble warrior. We're using the base of warrior 1 for the pose. Okay, press firmly into your right outer hip, right outer heel. Root your tailbone, energize your right hamstring. Begin to raise up with your torso so the pelvis rotates your spine upwards. And then squeeze the arms back. And keep the left heel really grounded. So the back leg is like a strong taproot. And then release your hands, raise them up. Beautiful. Yes, thank you. And exhale, aim your arrow forward. Keep the back heel really stable. Touch the 2 blocks and step backwards. Down dog pose. Okay, exhale, left foot forward. Pivot your right heel. Reach back to clasp your hands at the small of your back. And as you reach back like that, take the arms up towards the ceiling. Relax the weight of your head towards the floor. Tone your left outer hip. Keep the left outer heel strong. Engage your left hip and hamstring muscles. Rotate the tailbone down. And as you come up to warrior 1, stretch your arms behind you. It's really fun to feel my own left hip capacity getting stronger. Now let's keep the right leg really grounded and sweep the arms up, please, as you inhale. And then exhale and aim your arrow forward. And lightly touch the floor. Let's step the right foot over the blanket hurdle. Uttanasana. And inhale, rise up. Make the hands like an arrow. Put the other thumb. It does feel weird. Bring the hips in line with your toes and come into your standing back bend. And exhale your hands to your heart. You stand in mountain pose now. Let the arms relax down. And in your mountain pose, picture again that you're receiving. Of course, you can also be transmitting Metta or Maitri, but imagine the receiving as your primary focus. Okay, let's take a seat now with these two blankets that you have here. Sit on your left hip in, well, it's actually called Bharat Vajasana. So sit on your left hip like this. So you kneel to the side like that. Yeah, so the left hip on the blanket. We could say you're coming from Vajrasana. We could call this particular position the beginning of Bharat Vajasana. We can also call it kneeling sideways. Okay, take the right hand. You're going to put the back of your right hand on your left thigh and the blanket like that. So it already causes a side bend. You've shrunk the right side, so you're squeezing the ascending colon. Raise your left arm up. Let's keep the left hip grounded. So the side bend you may feel across the lower back or the myofascial region there, kind of a little bit like child's pose. And then you may feel it up along the side of your diaphragm and maybe into the upper side chest. And if you were here for class yesterday, you know that your tricep turns down towards your nose, that your left palm is facing the floor. And then inhale, raise your left arm up and twist to your left. Release. It's just a momentary twist. So the reason that we're side bending to the right first, excuse me, is that that was a squeeze for the ascending colon. Now we do the descending colon. So sit on the other side of your blankets. Bring the back of your left hand to the outside of your right thigh. Yep. And side bend to your left. There you go. Okay, you may raise your right arm up alongside your ear. Notice the breath in the side of the waist, lower back, maybe the upper right chest as well. And as gracefully as you're learning to receive the breath in your yoga practice, invite the same kind of receiving for this invisible metta or Maitri. Now rise up to your seat and just twist momentarily to your right. And release from there. Okay. Now you have these two blankets and they are folded. And I would like them to be folded really neatly. So if you need to double check anything, you want these blankets not to be just neat for ambiance, but because they're going to be a support for your shoulders. Oops. Don't do that, what I just did. Okay, so these are stacked and each of the two blankets being firmly stacked there, your shoulders are going to end up here on these blankets. So if you give it a little check and you say, okay, how does that feel to you? And ideally, the stack of blankets is very firm. Okay, so the chair is going to go on the yoga mat with you. And you're going to be sitting on this chair backwards, sliding off of it backwards. So please watch. If you've never done this before, I'd like you to watch the first time. And if you have never done it and you don't feel confident, then don't do it. Use bridge pose or waterfall pose or make a variation. So we're going to be using shoulder stand right now and then go down to Shavasana called waterfall when we use the chair and the blanket for the Shavasana. So you sit like you're at a bar, on a bar stool. I think this is how people do that, right? Because you know how much I've done that myself. This is what they look like. And then you're going to be sliding your knees over the upper back of the chair. And you slide backwards off the edge of the chair, watching out for hair clips. That's what I just did there. Okay, so when you come down here, what you have is your hips are on the edge of the chair still. And yes, it's a firm metal chair and it's not the most comfortable. Hopefully you don't have a very strong edge, but a rounded edge there. But you want to be able to have the time to set your shoulders into their position. Then the upper arms press down against the blankets because the elbows are bent. Hold the legs of the chair with your hands. And then the legs go straight up to candlestick pose, also called sometimes supported shoulder stand. If the edge of the chair is so painful for you that it's not tolerable, there are a couple things to consider. One is a different chair. Another is the height of the length of your torso determines where you're touching on the chair. So we could make the blankets taller. You could add a blanket and see if that makes it easier for your back on the chair. Or you could put padding on the chair so long as it's not slippery and causes you to go off your chair backwards faster than you want to. For those who come into candlestick pose like this, and you have the experience and the knowledge to do so, you can also take it down to plough pose. And the transition for plough pose or candlestick pose should feel really seamless. So please make your wise choices, even if what you're doing is waterfall pose right now as a longer Shavasana that is totally respectful. If you are in the candlestick pose, please keep your chest and heart lifted. This is not just a pose to be inverted, but we're practicing having the torso be able to receive the inhalation, even up into the heart.
Body should feel steady, but also comfortable. The pose may have something as restorative. Everything should feel breathable. The release from the candlestick pose, if you're doing it with the chair, what you do is you bend your knees, search out the top of the chair with your toes, then the seat of the chair, and then place your hands on the floor past your ears and past your head. And we come down from the candlestick pose without disturbing the blankets, without ruffling your blankets, and without choking yourself on your t-shirt. And then tip the chair with your feet so your knees get full support. And come to this waterfall pose. So the blankets here are not going to be higher on your lower back than the top of your sacrum. And that means that your tailbone is level with the sacrum. It's not dropping off the other side of the blanket. Yeah. Close the eyes and take your gaze down in towards the pelvis. Metta from someone else. You can now offer it to yourself, particularly to the parts of you that might be in pain or might express themselves as pain in behaviors that you wish would change. Like the part of you that self-sabotages or pressures you into exhaustion. You rest your gaze into the lower belly. Around that focal point, notice your body relaxing, releasing, releasing, getting heavier with relaxation. Be free from unnecessary pain. May you be free from unnecessary suffering. May you have ease and harmony. May you have internal joy and contentment. continually surrender any unnecessary tension. Give your body to the process of integration. Allow yourself to be deeply receiving. May you be free from pain. May you be free from suffering. May you experience joy and harmony, peace and contentment. Welcoming that mental quiet to go a little bit deeper one more time. So you're receiving like a sponge soaking in the ocean. Keeping the mind quiet inside. Start to slide your knees towards your chest. And when the knees come to the chest, allow gravity to support that process. So you're going to feel potentially a little bit more movement of prana and circulation towards your head. And then roll to your right. Use both hands to come back up to your seat. You can set your seat as you like. You come to your seat. Set yourself where you feel like you can be physically and quiet for the next several minutes. Don't let thinking begin. So don't let it intrude and don't let it get initiated. The inner quiet, that which is not the mental noise, as I said yesterday.
for that inner quiet, and also for how you can return to it. You can have this as your resource at periods of the day where you might sort of be derailed or detoured. How can you come back? Please raise your hands to your heart. Very much, everyone. Namaste. Can I take my shirt out from under you, please? All right. How are you feeling? We would all like one of these. Of course, you want to meditate when you have a little white fuzzy in your lap. And how is the quality of your mind here? See you. Very, excuse me, very